that we currently live in a world that is full of lies and deception. Now, I'm not saying there's not truth out there. Of course there is. You just got to be able to find it. And so, how do you deal with that? Well, my view is, and it's for your consideration, my view is be neutral, don't attach, and go within and ask your intuition. What does your intuition say? Seek counsel from your own intuition and seek your own truth, your own reality through your passionate intention creation. Now, let me say that again. What does your reality look like? Because your reality, if you're in a state of confusion, confrontation, if you're angry, if you're resentful, if you're taking sides, if you're judgmental, then you're not living, then your reality is a reflection of that. It is just simple quantum physics. If that's what you're vibrating at, that's what you're attracting. And so that's your reality. You cannot blame or shame anyone. It's up to you. It's your choice. But wouldn't you be better seeking your own truth and then have your life a reflection of that? And so your own reality is your own experiences, your own material reality is as a result of your passionate intention creation. Because remember, you're a divine spark of creator. You're what I call, this is my expression, and I say it to myself all the time, I am an infinite, divine, sovereign creator. Now, what does that mean? I've been given everything I need to create my own reality. Everything I need to create my own reality. I simply do not need to rely on somebody else to come and save me. Trump's not going to save me. Trump hasn't saved me yet. I don't, the Prime Minister of Australia, Albanese, hasn't saved me. He's just sitting there making things worse. And so you have everything you need. You have been given everything you need to save yourself. And I don't even want to use that expression, to flourish, to thrive, to live your own reality. And so think about this for a moment. Go into the conscious state of having beyond the RV and the med beds. And so, everybody here I know has got their own personal vision. I'm hoping you have. If you don't have clarity about your own personal vision, then I suggest you do the work. Now is a really good time. And you have your own intentions, right, for your project work, for your role in contributing to building, creating heaven on earth, right? And so you have your intentions. So my suggestion to you now is to live in the state, the consciousness of having that intention already realized. And if you do that and you disregard the external environment, because if you don't have material validation, everybody's looking for material validation. And if you don't have material validation, then that's simply either a reflection of an old consciousness of yours or a reflection of your current state of consciousness. Okay? And if it's a reflection of your old state of consciousness, then the material reality, the universe, is catching up. Is catching up to you. I mean, the universe doesn't deliver immediately. This is not instant karma. It's just not. I mean, it takes some time. And so if are living in a state of consciousness of having beyond the RV and the med beds, beyond all those experiences, and you're already in that state, and you know it to be true, and you're unwavering, then I can tell you the material reality, it's a law, it's a universal law. Material reality will catch up. However, If you go into doubt, if you get angry, if you question, if you confront, if you take sides, then you've just created a circuit breaker that has told the universe, stop delivering that because I'm not that anymore. I'm in a different state of consciousness. And if you're in a state of having beyond the med beds, beyond the RV, beyond those experiences, if you're living in that state of having, if your imagination is, flourishing in that state of having, then your material reality will catch up. It's inevitable. And if you're taking purposeful action in alignment with that, regardless of how small it seems, because I know a lot of people don't have any resources, they don't have any money, they've got health issues, or all those things. Everybody's got their own, dealing with their own world. But remember what I'm saying here. Your own world is a reflection of who you are being, your state of consciousness. And so change your world and take action around that. Take the responsibility to control your thoughts, to control your words, to control your actions that are in alignment with a state of having beyond the RV. And you might say to me, well, how does that help to propel us into the state of the RV? Well, it does, because number one, it's the law, it's quantum physics, simple quantum physics. If you want to call it spirituality, it's that too, they're aligned. But there's this thing called quantum entanglement. There's this thing called collective consciousness. You're familiar with those terms. You've heard me talk about this stuff many times. And so just merely not questioning the reality of the med beds, not questioning the reality of the RV, in fact, assuming it's already done, you've already been through that experience, you are contributing to the collective consciousness of the universe catching up. And so, do you need to go out there and take a blowhorn and yell from the highest treetops, that you're taking this side or you're taking that side? No, because if you simply go into the vibration of having, into the vibration of using your words, your thoughts, your actions to align with that, then you are contributing to the collective consciousness of that being accelerated into material reality, the universe catching up. In fact, by doing that, you accelerate it. And I can tell you, one of the circuit breakers to not having, to being in a state of doubt, is constantly checking the latest opinion and believing it. Well, he said this, he said that, she said this, and she said that. Which side am I going to take? Why don't you just take your own side? Because you're an infinite, divine, sovereign creator. You're a divine spark of creator. You're not God, but you are a form of God, which, I think the Bible even said God is within you. And you will do things far greater than I have done. Now, think about how much power you have. Think about how much power you have. And so what's quantum conscious leadership all about? What am I helping you guys to understand, to get into the understanding of? That quantum conscious leadership is an inside job. It's an inside job. You can't keep looking out there for everybody to give you an opinion which is going to help you to find you or to let go of what is not you. And I got to tell you, that's a huge part of it. The process of letting go of all the fear and all the anger and all the judgment, all the resentment, all the insecurity, uncertainty, and doubt, all the scarcity and lack, all the not good enough. It's a difficult thing to do. I mean, it's literally a full-time job, because in the process of letting go of what is not you, what do you think is going to be revealed? What is you? Your true higher self, your source self, your God self. And so the Christ within, so you must simply focus on self-mastery first. I see a lot of people talk to me about leading teams, and I say, well, are you a master at leading yourself first? Because you cannot lead a team from a position of not having self-mastery. You're a fraud. I mean, we've got a world of 3D leaders, who are 30 kilograms, 40 kilograms, 50 kilograms overweight. They work 18, 20 hours a day. They're neglecting their family. They're neglecting their health. They're neglecting everything. They're dying for the job. Do you think these people are leaders? They're not leaders. They're frauds. It's kind of like do as I say, don't do as I do. I mean, whoever came up with that statement of deception? It's just ridiculous. Leaders lead by example. And so you simply must focus on being sovereign first and foremost. And if you don't know what that word means or you're not clear, go back to the workbooks because I actually define it. And I talk a lot in the workbook about what sovereignty actually really is. And so quantum conscious leaders are sovereign. They have let go of everything that no longer serves them. The old experiences, the limiting beliefs, this constant negative inner narrative, the thoughts. This is just not a part of who they are anymore. And so the answers that you're seeking are not external. And I want to use a couple of quotes. One from one of my favorite people, Lao Tzu. And you know what I think about the Tao Te Ching. It's one of my favorite books. I've worn out about 4 of those Tao Te Ching books. I've worn them out. Got to go buy a new one because I'm referring to it all the time because I like the wisdom that's in, those 81 verses, those 81 passages of extraordinary philosophy. And so Lao Tzu once said, mastering others is strength. And I don't think he means mastering. I'd like to replace that word for inspiring others is strength. But let's go to his quote. Mastering others is strength. Mastering oneself is true power. So inspiring others is strength. Mastering oneself is true power. And here's another quote from Jack Welch. If you don't know who he is, look it up. Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. And that's inspiring others. You can't grow somebody else. They've got to grow themselves. This is where, I have a tendency to look at the words and go, well, it's not entirely correct from my perspective. You can't grow others. You can't motivate others. You can simply inspire them to help themselves, to awaken themselves. And, personally, I believe this latest flurry from Sky Prince, Kerry Ann, is awesome because it's helping. It's creating an energetic vibration that is helping people to actually think and question. Intelligent people. I'm talking about people who have got, EQ, SQ, emotional intelligence or energetic intelligence, spiritual intelligence. As a result of listening to what she's saying, they're questioning and saying, well, hold on a minute. Well, let me think about this for a minute. You know what I mean? As opposed to go, I've got to take a side now. Am I with Ginger or am I with Sky? Who am I with? Seriously, that is just so infantile. I mean, it's one of the reasons we haven't got the RV yet, because people are not showing the emotional, intellectual, physical, spiritual maturity to have the responsibility of the RV. You're not responsible. You can't be trusted to handle the funds to do the work. And so I kind of get it. And here's another quote from one of my favorite people, and that is me. This is my quote. Real leadership begins with being unwaveringly authentic, knowing who you are and why you are here, and being in the flow of that without compromise. So, what do you want to be? There's a lot of discussion. I mean, Carrie Ann, one of the things she kept talking about is 5D, right? 5D, 5D. Do you want to be in the 5D or you want to be in the 3D? 5D or 3D? And so that inspired me to actually talk about that today. To truly be the new breed of 5D leader, you simply must have your consciousness in the 5D. You can't be a 5D leader and still holding on to everything in the 3D or reacting, to everything in the 3D or even being there. And you've got to remember something. The fifth dimension is not something external that comes to you. It comes from you. It comes through you. Yet it won't, as long as you cling to the old experiences, the limiting beliefs, or all that rubbish from the matrix, from the illusion of the 3D. As long as you keep looking at your life through the perception of the 3D, you will never experience what 5D reality is. And you won't. You certainly won't, as long as you believe somebody's got to come and save you. Let me say this, let me be clear. Nobody is coming to save you. You are equipped with everything you need to save yourself. And it's not even saving, it's flourishing, to go into a state of thriving. To thrive. You've got everything you need. You've got everything you need. Now you might say, well, what am I here doing? Well, I'm here guiding and supporting. I'm here providing with tools and, resources that can help you to save yourself. Because that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to save you. It's not my responsibility to save you. It's your responsibility to save you. And so, you're going to step up and, step into your infinite power and take that responsibility? Or you're going to capitulate and say, well, Trump is just not saving me the way he should be saving me. Or, Wolvie didn't supply the information that I need to save me. Or the RV hasn't come to save me. The medbeds haven't come to save me. The RV and the medbeds are events that will supply you with resources. The resource of perfect health, the resource of financial, it's a tool, it's a resource. It's not the end, the resource of it. And so what you can do is you can accelerate and expand and multiply what you're already doing, who you're already being. You can't say, I'm going into the RV and the med beds and then I'll change. That will change me. No, it won't. It's like it reminds me of somebody saying, I'm having a bad time in this town. I've got to get out and go to a new town. And then they find they get to the new town and they're still them. They're still who they are. And so the new town is simply going to be a reflection of who they are anyway. And so it doesn't make one bit of difference changing geography. That never worked. That was another one of those things, you see in movies. Oh, I've got to get out of this place and go to a new place and start again. It's like biggest pile of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Why don't you just start now? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying the environment, if you're living in an environment of criminals, well, it's a good idea to get out, right, of that environment. And so, yes, changing the environment helps, but it's not the key. The key is you. You need to step up and step into your power. You need to take responsibility. And that's why, when you get the resources and you start doing your project work, a lot of people think they've got to give people money. I've got to give people all this money, like I'm a charity. You're not a charity. This is my view, right? You're not a charity. You're somebody who, it's more like you're an investor, an angel investor. You're helping people who need the resources to step into their own power and be self-sustaining. I mean, do you really want to do humanitarian projects where people always got their hand out, where they haven't stepped into their own power, their own infinite power, where they haven't taken responsibility to be to have self-mastery, to be self-sustaining? I mean, it's a rhetorical question, but we can, if you want to ask the questions in question time, go ahead. And I really want to make sure you remember this. You are the creator of your reality, the infinite, divine, sovereign creator. I chose those words. I take time to choose the words that are meaningful to me. Now, you can choose your own set of words or you can take mine. It's up to you. But, when I say to myself all the time, I am an infinite, divine, sovereign creator, I am infinite, divine abundance. I am literally creating my reality. I'm in the process of creating my reality. And I believe it to be true. I mean, I'm unwavering in that belief. Now, if my bank account doesn't show it, that is just, the universe catching up. It's old data. It was a reflection of me when I was living in scarcity. And I'm not doing that anymore because I've made a choice that that's not the case. And so, and why would I want to, languish in, I mean, seriously, I don't even consider it a decision. It's like, will I live in scarcity or will I live in abundance? I mean, what's the decision to make? And I haven't got external validation. My bank account doesn't look good. So what? Old data, the universe is catching up. So if you're in a state of unwavering state, an unequivocal state, an absolute internal certainty state, that you are an infinite divine sovereign creator, that you are infinite divine abundance. You're an abundance of health and well-being. You're an abundance of wealth and success. You're an abundance of unconditional love and compassion. If you're living in that state, do you think you're going to react to everything that Sky says? Or do you think you're going to take a look at it and objectively, in a detached state, use it as fuel to say, right, okay, yeah, it's good to know. Now, what am I doing? What am I creating? Now, what am I creating? And seriously, everybody gets caught up in the how of it. Don't worry about the how. Seriously, don't worry about the how. The how always comes. The how trails along behind when you simply know the why and the who, or the who and the why. And in many cases, the what, because the what is your intentions in your humanitarian projects. This is what I intend on doing. And if you're not understanding what I'm saying, start reading some stuff about quantum physics. I mean, most of it is in the workbooks I've already provided to you. There's enough in there for you to know, and there's enough in there for you for it to stimulate further research, to find out what I'm talking about, because that's the game. We just got to play. I mean, it's really learning how to master an understanding of the power within, and the tool is simply quantum physics. Because when you're in a state of having, when your intention, your imagination, and your consciousness is in a state of having, that's the world that will eventually, either quickly or in some time, be a reflection of that reality. It just simply must be the case. It's law. And if you doubt it, then do some more research and find out, or don't. And if you don't, if you're living in a state of doubt, I mean, there's nothing I can do to help you. If you choose to be there, there's nothing anybody can do to help you. You're beyond saving because you will not save yourself. You're not interested. You're interested in living in the 3D world. And so, there's every now and again you see posts in Telegram or wherever where people talk about 3D and 5D, the difference between 3D and 5D. Well, I created my own list yesterday. I just went, you know what? I'm going to sit down and go, what does 3D look like to me? I didn't do any referencing. I didn't do any research. I just went, what does 3D look like to me? And what does 5D look like to me? So I'm going to go through what I believe is the difference between the two. Let me start with 3D, unaware. You are unaware. You're basically unaware of yourself. You're unaware of pretty much everything. And you're living from a state of personality. It's your personality. And a lot of people say, and I think there's a good case for it, that personality is simply a reflection of your ego. Ego, personality, personality, ego. I think it was Carl Jung that said that, maybe even Freud. Carl Jung's teacher was Freud, and maybe even Freud said that. What's 5D look like? Clarity and focus of your true higher self, who you really are, who you really are. Not who needs to come to you, who you really are. You are clear about that. And the 3D world, people live in a rational state. They're rationalizing everything. They're using the very limited conscious state to try and rationalize or reason their way through things. In the 5D world, you trust your intuition. What do you think I said earlier? Go to your intuition. Learn how to develop your intuitive powers. Learn how to decode or interpret the emotional language of your intuition, which really comes from your non-conscious mind, the Akashic, the universe of all knowingness, all answers, and is translated through your heart, that feeling through your heart, which is emotional language. You've got to learn how to decode that into rational language. What does that mean to me? What does that mean? And when you get really good at that, you get very powerful. Now those messages, intuitive messages, could come from God. They could come from angels. They could come from galactic beings, celestial beings. They could come from, ancestral guides, ascended masters. Who knows? I never know where they come from, but they come. And I can tell you, I trust my intuition, and it has got me out of a lot of shit because I've just sat there and been still and gone, what am I going to do here? And messages come to me. They always come to me. And the better you get at this stuff, I can tell you, the better you're going to be in terms of having clarity and focus of your true higher self and your own power and, overcoming challenges, finding solutions. 3D, egocentric. 5D, altruistic. 3D, past and future. Always living in the past, always living in the future. 5D, you live in the present moment. 3D, busy. Crazy monkey beta mind, chaotic. It's all going on. 5D, surrender, flow, calm, and resourceful. 3D, self-sabotage. I mean, all these people taking sides, all these people being judgmental, all these people being critical, all these people blaming and shaming, drama and glamour. Really? Seriously? 5D, creation, creator, create. 3D, consumerism. 5D, benevolence. 3D, capitulation. 5D, sovereignty. 3D, doubt. 5D, trust. 3D, fear. 5D, love. Preferably unconditional love, not the 3D version of love, where now I love you, I own you, or now I love you, you've got to do as I say and be the way I want you to be. Not that version of love, not, pheromone love, chemical love, none of that, not that stuff, right? It's unconditional love. I said to Victoria we were talking, Victoria and I, my wife and I were talking about this the other night. And I said, I have unconditional love for you and unconditional love for Luna and unconditional love for myself. And she just looked at me and went, that's nice. It's like, yeah, You know what I mean, right? And so 3D illusion, 5D truth. 3D deceit or deceitful, lies, half truths. 5D moral. 3D, 3D uncertainty. 5D potential. 3D corrupt. 5D honor. I mean, again, last night we were talking about this is a good one. Yeah, I got to tell you the story. Victoria was yelling at me from upstairs, and she said, "You're not going to believe what's happened." And I said, "What happened?" And she came down and she said, I think it was about 10 years ago, I bought Victoria two diamonds from what I thought was a genuine website in America selling diamonds. I think I paid like $6,000 for them or something like that 10 years ago. And they were two small diamonds, like a carat each or something, and high quality diamonds. They had all the papers and everything. She took them into her jeweler and he said they're zirconian. So I spent $6,000 buying glass. And I just went, man, well, that's a world that I'm not a part of anymore. And she just looked at me and she said, aren't you upset? And I said, no, what am I going to do about that? I can't do anything about that. I just don't live in that world anymore of deception, of lies, cheats, thieves. It's not a world I choose to be in. So am I going to get upset about it? No. I mean, you got some nice looking glass there. You do whatever you want with it, Victoria. And so, I could have gone into a diatribe about this world that we live in is corrupt, is deceitful, is lies and cheats and thieves, blah, 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 and on it goes. But why would I do that? Because in the talking about that, I'm creating that reality for myself. So I'm going to be exposed to it everywhere. I choose not to be in that reality, and I choose to have my consciousness add to the collective consciousness of us not being in that reality. And the sooner we all do that, the sooner that reality is going to appear and we will have material validation. So corruption, and then 3D, unreliable, 5D, responsible, not accountable, responsible, step up and take the responsibility for being in the vibration, in the consciousness of your true higher self. And one of the best ways of doing that is to let go of all the stuff that no longer serves you. 3D, treachery, 5D, loyal, 3D, limited, 5D, infinite, 3D, mortal, 5D, eternal. That's the end of my list. I think that's enough, right? It could go on and on and on. So, isn't it what we're here to do as quantum conscious leaders? Be on a journey of meaningful growth and progression. And doesn't that begin with you getting clarity of your true higher self, your vision, and your purpose? If you're unable to clearly state your vision in one short, succinct statement that inspires you. Every time you read that statement, you go, man, that inspires me. I am inspiring myself. And your purpose statement. This is the reason I do these, help you to remember your vision, not find it, remember your vision, remember your purpose, remember who you really are as your true higher self, is because that is then the state of being which you're moving into. And why do you think I spend so much time talking about, the tools to get there, like PQ, IQ, EQ, and SQ, physical intelligence, being in the optimal state of health and well-being? You can always do something. Eat a little better. Don't eat junk. Don't live on a diet of pizza and Coca-Cola and burgers and fries. This is just not the way to live. your body cannot operate on, processed food. You just can't do it. Your body cannot operate on being in a constant state of no movement, living a sedentary lifestyle. And so you need to educate yourself around those things and do what you need to do to develop PQ, because doing it after the med beds is not a smart thing, because you're already living in the old habits of not doing. And it worries me to have that thought that people are going to go through the med beds, get perfect health and well-being, or perfect health at least anyway, maybe not well-being, perfect health, and then start going back to the old habits where they lose it all. And then they rely on the med beds as a crutch, which they will not let you do. Oh, can I just go in and get my med bed fix and I'll be healthy and well again? They won't let you do it because you're not taking responsibility to maintain or improve what you were given, the gift that you were given. IQ, mastering your thinking, your reasoning, and the development of your neural pathways. That's your responsibility. EQ, energetic mastery. How many times have you heard me say mastering energy? When you master energy, you will master everything. I mean, just think about that pithy little statement, what it actually really means. It's quantum physics summed up in one statement. This whole idea of manifestation, of creating your own reality, and one tiny little statement: master energy and you'll master everything. What do I mean by mastering energy? Master your own energy, self-mastery. My thoughts, my words, my emotional or vibrational state, my actions, my beliefs. This is self-mastery. And if you allow those things to slip to limiting beliefs, if you allow your actions to reflect anger, or your emotional state to be angry, I'm not happy with what Sky Prince said. I am angry. Well, she didn't make you angry. You chose to be angry. It was your choice. SQ, spiritual intelligence, your connection with source, your connection with your true higher self, and being in that state of consciousness, being in that state of vibration, being in that state of power, of infinite power, your own power. Think about the things that I've talked about today. Now, I'm not being prescriptive. I'm not telling you that that's the way you need to be. I'm simply suggesting you think about it and then go on your own journey of reflecting your true higher self. Go on your own journey. It's so, so, so important, this work, because you simply cannot get through the RV and have all the resources, the perfect health, and all the financial resources, and then believe you're going to lead all these people when you do not know how to lead yourself. When you're not in a state of self-mastery or in a state of sovereignty. It's not going to work, guys. It's not going to work.